Now, I'm so excited because today's story is a story that I've read so many times for the day is precautions. Now, precautions means is something you do to prevent something dangerous from happening, okay? It's something you do ahead of time. The beginning of the word is precaution. The caution means be careful. Pre means before, okay? So before something bad can happen, you do something to prevent the bad thing from happening. That's what precautions means, okay? And I thought this word was perfect for this book, Dr. DeSoto. Now, this book looks really raggedy because, like I said, we have read this book so many times that it's starting to fall apart. But it's such a good story, okay? It's such a good story. And it was published in 1982. Now, and it's called Dr. DeSoto. Dr. DeSoto is a dentist. He's a mouse dentist, okay? And I'm going to read the story to you, and then I'm going to show you the pictures. Dr. DeSoto, the dentist, did very good work, so he had no end of patients. Those close to his own size, moles, chipmunks, etc., sat in the regular dentist chair. Larger animals sat on the floor, while Dr. DeSoto stood on a ladder. Now, there is the regular dentist chair. You can see it there. And there he is with a larger animal, like a big pig. Okay. For extra large animals, he had a special room. There, Dr. DeSoto was hoisted up to the patient's mouth by his assistant, who also happened to be his wife. Now, think of the word hoisted. Doesn't it sound perfect? Hoisted means you lift it up, but to hoist someone, it sounds like you're lifting it up. That's called onomatopoeia, okay, where a word sounds like what it means. So here's the waiting room. Look, there's the waiting room. There's there he is on a kind of a winch, and he's being hoisted up to take care of this. I think it's a donkey, and he's fixing his teeth. Okay. Dr. DeSoto was especially popular with the big animals. He was able to work inside their mouths wearing rubbers, like those are like rubber boots, to keep his feet dry, and his fingers were so delicate and his drills so dainty they could hardly feel any pain. Now, dainty, isn't that a nice word too? Dainty means like little and cute kind of thing. Okay. There he is working inside the cow's mouth you know. So he takes pride in the work that he does. Being a mouse, he refused to treat animals dangerous to mice, and it said so on his sign. When the doorbell rang, he and his wife would look out the window. They wouldn't admit even the most timid looking cat. Timid. Isn't that a perfect word? Timid means like something that looks really shy, okay? And the sign says cats and other dangerous animals not accepted for treatment. So that's his rule that he doesn't accept them. It makes sense. It's like a precaution that he takes, right? One day, when they looked out, they saw a well dressed fox with a flannel bandage around his jaw. Okay, there's the fox. And he's looking up at the sign. I cannot treat you, sir, Dr. DeSoto shouted. Sir, haven't you read my sign? Okay, so the fox is coming to him as a dentist to be treated. And he's saying, nope, I can't treat you. Did you read the sign? Please, the fox wailed, have mercy, I'm suffering. And he wept so bitterly, it was pitiful to see. Okay, like he's crying. This fox is actually crying. Uh, let's risk it, said Mrs. DeSoto. She pressed the buzzer and let the fox in. Now, do you think that's a good idea? They're going to treat a fox. Oh, oh, wait a minute. Just a moment, said Dr. DeSoto. That poor fox, he whispered to his wife. What shall we do? Let's risk it, said Mrs. DeSoto. She pressed the buzzer and let the fox in. Now, what's making them let the fox in? It's their mercy. They know what it feels like to have a bad toothache, so they let the fox in. Hmm. He was up the stairs in a flash. Bless your little hearts, he cried, falling to his knees. I beg you, do something. My tooth is killing me. Now, this is a good reason why you should be brushing your teeth. I know some kids who don't like to brush their teeth. But did you know that when you don't brush your teeth, the food that's left behind, the bacteria, little germs in your mouth start to eat the food and they make acid and they make holes in your teeth and that can really hurt. Sit on the floor, sir, said Dr. De Soto, and remove the bandage, please. So he's getting ready to treat the fox. Do you think that's a good idea? Dr. De Soto climbed up the ladder and bravely entered the fox's mouth. Ooh, wow, the fox gasped. The fox had a rotten bicuspid and unusually bad breath. Bad breath comes from not brushing your teeth and cleaning your mouth. This tooth will have to come out, Dr. DeSoto announced, but we can make you a new one. Just stop the pain, whispered the fox, wiping some tears away. Despite his misery, he realized he had a tasty little morsel in his mouth, and his jaw began to quiver. Keep open, yelled Dr. DeSoto. Wide open, yelled his wife. Okay, now, there's a fox. He knows there's a mouse in his mouth. I'm giving you gas now, said Dr. DeSoto. You won't feel a thing when I yank that tooth. Soon the fox was in dreamland. Mmm, yummy, he mumbled. How I love them raw, with just a pinch of salt and a dry bit of juice. They could guess what he was dreaming about. What do you think he's dreaming about? Mrs. DeSoto handed her husband a pole to keep the fox's mouth open. See, they stuck the pole in there so the fox's mouth won't close because he's under anesthesia. Dr. DeSoto fastened his extractor to the bad tooth. Then he and his wife began turning the winch. Finally, with a sucking sound, the tooth popped out and hung, swaying in the air. So he did it. He pulled out the bad tooth. The fox, still woozy, said goodbye and left. On his way home, he wondered if it would be shabby of him to eat the DeSotos when the job was done. Shabby, in this case, shabby usually means like when you have shabby furniture, like there's holes in it and stuff like that. Shabby in this case means like would it be bad of him? Like would it be kind of mean of him to do that? Okay. It would be, wouldn't it? After office hours, Mrs. DeSoto molded a tooth of pure gold and polished it. Raw with salt indeed, muttered Dr. DeSoto. How foolish to trust a fox. So Dr. DeSoto is having second thoughts. He's thinking, why did I let this fox in? Why did I do this? Why did did I slip a fair? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I did. Thank you. I'm bleeding, the fox yelped when he came to. Dr. DeSoto ran up the ladder and stuck some gauze in the hole. The worst is over, he said. I'll have your new tooth ready tomorrow. Be here at 11 sharp. The fox, still woozy, said goodbye and left. On his way home, he wondered if it would be shabby of him to eat the DeSotos when the job was done. Okay, now, go to the next. Now, while he's gone, after office hours, Mrs. DeSoto molded a tooth of pure gold and polished it. Raw with salt, indeed, muttered Dr. DeSoto. How foolish to trust a fox. So he figured it out that this fox is not very trustworthy. He didn't know what he was saying, said Mrs. DeSoto. Why should he harm us? We're helping him. Because he's a fox, said Dr. DeSoto. They're wicked, wicked creatures. That night, the DeSotos lay awake worrying. Should we let him in tomorrow? Mrs. DeSoto wondered. Once I start a job, said the dentist firmly, I finish it. My father was the same way. You see, what this is about, this is about taking pride in what you do. Like when I For example, if I'm doing a presentation for schools, I do the very best I can, no matter what is going on. Okay, that's the same thing with him. He takes pride in being a dentist. He does a proper job every single time. So, so he goes, once I start a job, I finish it. My father was the same way. But we must do something to protect ourselves, said his wife. They talked and talked until they formed a plan. I think it will work, said the Dr. DeSoto. A minute later, he was snoring. Now, the plan is the precaution. Okay. Precaution is like having a plan to prevent something bad from happening. So, what you have to do is you have to think of all the things that could happen and plan against it. Okay. The next morning, promptly at 11, a very cheerful fox turned up. He was feeling not a particle of pain. Okay, the bad tooth was gone. Oh yeah. When Dr. DeSoto got into his mouth, he snapped it shut for a moment, then opened wide and laughed. Just a joke, he chortled. Chortled is a kind of laughing. Okay. Are you getting a feeling of nervousness? I am. Be serious, said the dentist sharply. We have work to do. His wife was lugging the heavy tooth up the ladder. There, she's got the tooth in her hands. By the way, gold is really heavy. Oh, I love it, exclaimed the fox. It's just beautiful. Dr. DeSoto set the gold tooth in its socket and hooked it up to the teeth on both sides. The fox caressed the new tooth with his tongue. My, it feels good, he thought. I really shouldn't eat them. On the other hand, how can I resist? We're not finished, said Dr. DeSoto, holding up a large jug. I have here a remarkable preparation developed only recently by my wife and me. With just one application, you can be rid of toothaches forever. How would you like to be the first one to receive this unique treatment? Hmm. So he says, I've got this special treatment for your teeth so that you won't get pain again. I certainly would, the fox declared. I'd be honored. He hated any kind of personal pain. Now, he says personal pain. Why would they say personal pain? Let's talk about it later. You will never have to see us again, said Dr. DeSoto. No one will ever see you again, said the fox to himself. He had definitely made up his mind to eat them with the help of his brand new tooth. Dr. DeSoto stepped into the fox's mouth with a bucket of secret formula and proceeded to paint each tooth. He hummed as he worked. Mrs. DeSoto stood by on the ladder, pointing out spots he had missed. The fox looked very happy. When the dentist was done, he stepped out. Now close your jaws tight, he said, and keep them closed for a full minute. The fox did as he was told. Then he tried to open his mouth, but his teeth were stuck together. uh, excuse me, I should have mentioned, said Dr. DeSoto. You won't be able to open your mouth for a day or two. The secret formula must first permeate the dentine. But don't worry, no pain ever again. Permeate. We'll talk about what that word means, okay? Permeate the dentine. But don't worry, no pain ever again. The fox was stunned. He stared at Dr. DeSoto, then at his wife. They smiled and waited. All he could do was say, "Thank you very much," through his clenched teeth and get up and leave. He tried to do so with dignity. Then he stumbled down the stairs in a daze. Dr. DeSoto and his assistant had outfoxed the fox. They kissed each other and took the rest of the day off.